Hello everyone, and unfortunately I am feeling quite under the weather today, which is why there will be no face cam, unfortunately. I know you're probably all deeply saddened by this fact, but nonetheless the show must go on, so without further ado, let us waste no time at all and dive right into this week's episode of Critical Role. So starting this one off with a nice touching moment between Nott and Caleb, we have seen that Nott obviously wants Caleb to, as we can assume, true polymorph Nott back into her halfling form. But she's also expressed that she doesn't want to slow Caleb down in the things that he wants to accomplish, which is obviously a very selfless sentiment to have. And while this sort of exchange or scenario that happened between them isn't of great importance, it is still a nice little thing to take note of, that Nott still does really care about what Caleb wants to accomplish, and she doesn't want to hinder his progress. But then on the flip side, Caleb still really does want to help Nott, and from what we can understand, it would seem that Caleb true polymorphing Nott back into her halfling form is far more likely to happen first when you think about what Caleb does hope to accomplish, which is time travel. So obviously the true polymorph does seem way more doable. And now moving on to the more interesting aspects of this episode, we have more information on the Luxon, which is this sort of god or entity that is connected with the dodecahedron. And as the party sort of theorized, they believe that the dodecahedron is sort of a holy relic or artifact of this god or goddess. And it is of the belief of the followers of the Luxon that the Luxon was the original god of Exandria. But if this is the original god of Exandria, why is there so little information about it? Or why is this information being safeguarded or kept from the public? You would think that such a god would be the most worshipped of all. So what is the reason for all the hush-hush about this Luxon? And of course, I'm referring to the hush-hush in the Empire. Obviously in Xhorhas, this is a different story, considering it seems there is a fairly large following. But this also does seem to be an only recent following. Caleb had mentioned that the Kreen originally worshipped Lolth. However, now it appears that people of the Kreen dynasty and the various beasts that inhabit Xhorhas have taken to worshipping the Luxon. Now, it'll be interesting to figure out or find out who sort of spearheaded this new worship and what is the reason for it. I feel that only the Empress herself has the answers to those questions. And now, while there is a growing presence of the Luxon and her worshippers, there are still some people who don't believe in this new entity. They believe that the Luxon is leading people astray. But yet another interesting thing to note is that the Luxon is the bringer of dunamancy, at least as far as we know. So it's possible that the Kreen dynasty did not worship the Luxon purely because it's the original god of Exandria, but perhaps they figured out that through worshipping the Luxon, they would be granted these fairly powerful spells and abilities. And this worship may really just be to gain power and to take over Exandria, which could be the wishes of the Luxon, because if the Luxon is the original god of Exandria, and there's all of these new quote-unquote fake gods that have sort of taken this Luxon's place, it would make sense that the Luxon would grant its powers onto its worshippers so that they may take over the known world and make sure that everyone far and wide worships the Luxon. Taking a step back and looking at the whole picture of the Luxon sort of coming in and getting rid of the old ways of Lolth and bringing in a new era to the Kreen dynasty, it's this whole idea of sort of out with the old and in with the new, but with a weird twist because the Luxon is the original god of Exandria, so it's sort of like out with the old, in with the older. I don't know if that makes any amount of sense, but it's sort of an interesting idea considering it's usually new ideas that come through that sort of wash away the old ways that didn't work. But in this case, it's the even older beliefs that are resurfacing. So I'm still just as confused as most of you about the mysteries of the Luxon, and I don't know if any of my sort of explanations, or I don't even know if they can even count as explanations, but I am still sort of trying to understand the Luxon, so I hope that what I just said regarding the Luxon can maybe help others understand its powers over the land. And if not, hey, that's alright, I'm still doing my best to understand it as well. But anyways, I digress. Moving on. The party has entered the City of Beasts, and this is exactly what I have been waiting for. I was so excited for this episode, purely to see the City of Beasts, just mainly because Matt is such a fantastic storyteller, and I love his descriptors, and just the mental image, the picture he painted in our minds about the City of Beasts was absolutely beautiful. I absolutely fell in love with everything he was saying and describing about this city, and it was absolutely hilarious seeing everyone's facial reactions to Matt describing the various beasts in this city. It was absolutely hilarious. They just felt way out of their league because of all of these beasts just seemed so powerful and so dangerous. It was just so funny seeing them all like jaw dropped, just like, oh my goodness, what have we gotten ourselves into? And I am on the same boat as Marisha. I think the party should invest in a war turtle. I think that would go perfectly with their group. We do now have some interesting players added to the world of Matt's creation. We have Sunbreaker Olamon, who definitely took my breath away, much like Not and Ford. But it would appear to be that this Sunbreaker Olamon is of high ranking in either the military or in political standing within the city, considering the ascended title he was using is similar to that of the Empress. They're sort of a part of this sort of league of some sort. Again, we don't know too much information about the hierarchy system of the Kreen culture, so we can only assume, based on his sort of armor he was wearing, the armed guards that were following him, that he is a very important figure. And we'll have to see how he ties into everything, and if he will be an ally or a dangerous enemy to the Mighty Nine. And with their interactions with Sunbreaker Olamon, and while they haven't interacted with many of the Kreen warriors within the city, they did talk with the lady, a more high-ranking official within the city, when they went to talk to her about the demonic presence that the party had encountered. Matt made it clear that the drow architecture is very beautiful and quite detailed, and really just a sight to behold. And all of the drow that they encountered, they were mainly all female, because as far as my memory serves, females in the drow society hold a higher place than the males. But that's not the point I'm trying to get at. The point I'm trying to make is that all of the drow that they encountered, the females, they all held themselves in a very sophisticated manner. Now, this is not what we've been led to believe from the Empire. The Empire is sort of brainwashed, in air quotes, the people to believe that the Kreen and the drow of Xhorhas are savages. Now, the female drow that we've encountered don't seem like savages at all. They seem very respectable, beautiful, as Matt has described on both occasions that we met the female drow, and just really overall well put together and rather intelligent. So it's just interesting that we've only heard terrible things about the Kreen, and yet there's this strange contrast to the reality of how they operate and how they really are. But that is war, and that's propaganda, I suppose. But it'll be interesting to see that if the party decides to help out the Kreen and they get these rewards and possible favors, will the Mighty Nine switch sides? Will they join Xhorhas in taking down the Empire? Or will they stay true to the Empire? It's definitely a conversation I think the Mighty Nine will have in the near future. I personally believe that the party may help out the people of Xhorhas merely to allow them to get what they want. They obviously want to rescue Yeza, however they do have to handle this situation very carefully because the Empress does very much want Yeza, and I don't think she will give him up easily. So the Mighty Nine do still have to be very careful with how they approach this situation. And now moving on, to wrap up this episode, we are going to talk about the most amazing NPC Matt has ever crafted. That's right, it is Zort the Goblin, who is probably the new victor of this campaign. Holy moly, that NPC had me absolutely rolling with laughter, an absolute delight to see, and just seeing the reactions of the cast, all of them laughing, it was just an absolute delight. I am so happy that we got to meet this very peculiar and hilarious NPC, and I hope they continue to go back to him, and I can't wait for Zort to teach the party how to ride these beasts. That is going to be an absolutely hysterical scenario, and I cannot wait to see that unfold. But with all of that being said, we are going to wrap up. Now again, the whole conversation of the Luxon, I don't know if it all made sense. It still really doesn't make sense to me. So I will open the Luxon up to discussion, and maybe we can help each other piece all of the information together. I may have gotten some of my information wrong, so please do correct me in the comments below, and let's have a nice conversation and lore talk about what this could possibly be and what it could mean to the party and all of the people in Exandria. And what was your favorite part of the City of Beasts? Was it all of the interesting creatures that reside in the city? Was it Zort? Let me know. And what do you think the source of this demonic presence might be? And do you think the party may ally themselves with the Drow in the Crane Dynasty, for the time being at least? And did anyone else feel the temperature rise in the room when Sunbreaker Olamon came into the picture? Let me know all of your thoughts and feelings down below. I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful rest of your weekend, and I will see you all next week.